Magnus arrives late, as per usual, forfeiting some time on the clock. 30 seconds gone.
Yeah, late in this scenario. That could come back to bite you.
I mean, he did that in game 2 of the longer time format, and it didn't go too well for him. And right now, with just 5 minutes to start, 30 seconds left, he does go with that central break, always trying to get his queen out into the game as quickly as possible. Magnus Carlsen does.
Big moment for Sindarov, especially on the left board in front of you. Does he capture, allow Magnus's queen out, or does he bypass the pawn? Does he say, I'm going to lock the center, gain some space, push forward? I think that would show a lot of ambition. That's the most ambitious move from Sindarov. So we'll learn about his mindset here and now. The other board, I think, might become a bit more symmetrical, at least for a few more moves. But No.1 will be trying to crack open the center in the near future.
But would you believe it? For the 30 seconds that Magnus Carlsen sacrificed by coming to the board late, Javokhir's already given that back to him with this think, rapidly approaching the 4-minute mark early on here in this tiebreak scenario, only 2 moves in.
I would believe it because, you know, the thing is that 3 moves, the third move is going to decide and dictate the nature of the position for the rest of it. Do you keep things closed? Do you open up? He says, I'll go with the former. He gains more space in the center, but giving a free hand to Magnus on that right flank. Will he push the F-pawn eventually up the board as well?
Magnus is trying to turn it into a King's Indian type of pawn structure, the structure that normally arises from that opening in traditional chess where he can rely on pattern recognition. Sindarov might just agree. And yeah, I'm very pleased to see that he's pushed his pawn forward with white, because we might see the connect 4, but also because it shows his mindset. He wants to beat Magnus here and now. He wants to do it with the white pieces. And okay, first of all, he pushes this pawn forward. He's not worrying about his central pawn, because after the white g-pawn steps forward, or white knight comes, the white queen can get into the center. This is going to be a very locked position for a while.
I love the aggression that Sindarov's showing right now. He's not shying away from the fight. And usually in these games, the board gets divided into half. You know, Sindarov focusing on the left flank, Magnus on the right side of the board. You're pointing out the knight jump coming in with an attack on the 2 pawns. There's ideas of c5 break at the right time, suddenly opening up the bishop spot to give a check. That b5 square now under control by Magnus on a6. It's going to be a race on the 2 flanks.
Magnus not wanting that knight to be able to jump further into the position, so he's going to steal that square away from his opponent. So Javokhir says, you grab space on one side of the board, I'll grab space on the other side of the board, launching his h-pawn down and maybe giving his queen away into the game.
Very interesting, but that also shows his intentions. He's not going to castle anymore on the right flank here, Sindarov. He's most likely going to plant his king on the other flank. So at least that's an indicator to Magnus about how he should be planning for the future. Brings his bishop forward there. Magnus, will he trade dark squared bishops? That tends to be a problem piece for black. Maybe that's on the agenda for soon, at least in the next few moves. He's slowing down.
Yes, he's got his hand on that bishop. He wants to develop pieces right now. Just feels like more space. I like the pace that Sindarov's keeping on the clock as well. Magnus also hinting towards the flexibility of the black king. Might go either way.
Yeah, the king could go to the left. That's also a very typical idea in these types of structures. Black is a bit cramped, so trading off is the key. The more trades we see, the more he can breathe a sigh of relief, Magnus Carlsen. Very tense position here. But Sindarov, just as he's been all day, behind on the clock again.
It's fascinating to me how willing all of these players are to leave so many pieces on the board in a 5-minute game of chess. I feel like they'd be willingly trading things off, say, let's make this simple for ourselves, and yet the complexity only continues to build.
You have to keep the tension. When you're at this level, whoever blinks first stays the one on the back foot usually, and both these players doing just that. Sindarov now, but he has to make a move faster because the big decisions lie ahead in the game. This is not the critical moment.
And
get the bishop out. Push that h-pawn. But make a move, Sindarov.
He's got to make a move. He's got to make a move, and quickly here already. More than a minute off of his clock as compared to his opponent. As we know in this position, you blink 182 and you miss it. And we've missed quite a bit of the other boards. So how about we hop over there real quick just to check in on that semifinal. Levon Aroni and Vincent Keimer. How's that one developed? I see a question mark given the most recent move, but equivalence on the bar. Still every piece on the board.
Yeah. Big moments. Levon Aronian has pushed forward. With space comes responsibility. He backs up his pawn there. Maybe an opportunity to try and bring the knight forward. There's a big hole in black's camp on the dark squares. Again, it's a bit like Swiss cheese. You put your pawns on light squares, the dark squares become weak. I think this is a great start to the game for Levon if he can keep the momentum. But Vincent's trying to save things by getting the queens off the board. And there we go, breaks in the center.
Yeah, he's trying to fight for that space right back. He wants that knight to occupy that spot if the trades are accepted. I like this active approach by Vincent. He also keeps it level on the clock. We've spoken about his time management on your player cards as one of his weakest points. Levon trying to find ways he can make use of that, but so far Vincent doing a great job.
Unfortunately, did have to concede control of the H-file with that queen trade. So that could be a resource for Levon later on in the game.
And in the meantime, Levon has to decide what to do, whether to keep the tension or whether to trade off. Probably safer to trade off this pawn. The downside is his knight cannot sneak forward anymore because the black bishop has suddenly come to life. That was such a good moment for Vincent to strike in the center. Levon playing on the flanks, you play down the center of the park. So this game looking much more stable and more balanced than the other board, at least for now.
All right, with stability here, back we go. Over to Magnus Carlsen, Javokhir. We'll likely follow this one to its conclusion, as it is such a marquee matchup. Javokhir looking to do the unthinkable over Magnus Carlsen and get a win here in game one of the tiebreak and set himself up for success. He jumps in with his knight, looking for the trade.
The clock. 1 minute versus 3. This is brinksmanship at its best. And Magnus has traded off pieces. Magnus is about to get the dark squared bishops off the board as well. First, you've got to stop the white queen from swooping in on the diagonal. You've got to block that line, probably with a pawn. But Magnus has got a fantastic position now, suddenly.
I love that last move by Sindarov, hinting at that queen a7 jump, hitting the black rook at the other flank right now. Magnus needs to take a pause, play that pawn move if he finds it. He doesn't. He does go immediately for the bishop trade on the other side, giving White the opportunity to come flying away with that queen. Will he do it? He falls back with the knight first.
Magnus would have castled his king to protect his rooks, connect his rooks, if the white queen had jumped in. So not yet, but now Magnus has a very good bishop against a very bad bishop.
Yeah.
No space issues, and he is the one who holds the key to the center. He can break or close it, depending on what he wants. Magnus is in charge.
And he might increase the tension eventually by pushing the G pawn as well, with the rook nicely lined up against the white queen. Watch out for those pawn breaks if you're Javokhir Sindarov. But right now, first of all, foremost, watch your clock.
Needs to speed up. I love your idea there, Tanya. Connect 4 across the board. Magnus is going to hold that one up his sleeve for a bit later. But first, it's a bit of a dance. Who's going to go which side here with their king? The white king's probably going to the left once the black bishop's being kicked away. I think Magnus is trying to prepare for that inevitability. Slowing down now.
Very complicated stuff here. With all the pawns still on the board, no open lines. It's already a game for all 3 results. This one is.
Yeah, you mentioned the pace slowing down, but it's Magnus who's choosing to slow down the pace, right? And it's so indicative of him feeling like these are the critical moments in the game for him to come away with a victory.
Exactly. He thinks when he wants. He kind of speeds things up when he wants. At the moment, it's Javokhir pretty much just reacting. And this is very interesting. I thought he would wait a few more moves, but he feels he's ready to open up those lines before White can fully coordinate the pieces and get them off the back rank.
But even if you have to react, you need more time on the clock. He's now under the 40-second mark, and big questions. There's so much tension in the center. A trade-off between the F and the E pawn, between the G and the H pawn as well. And Javokhir with the first inaccuracy on the board.
Will it be the first or will it be the last inaccuracy? Javokhir struggling with 30 seconds on his clock. He takes with the knight. He has one strong piece, but suddenly the black queen is so strong on the diagonal. Suddenly Magnus is also up 1 pawn, and this is what he wanted. The white queen swoops all the way in behind enemy lines. Is that effective, or is that just a shot in the dark attacking the rook?
It's a big threat. You move that rook, you lose the pawn in front of it. Magnus will have to find a way. I don't think you want to go castling on the other side after all the trades that have happened. Magnus is going to do vintage Magnus stuff. He just places his king in the center, steps it 1 step forward, connects the 2 rooks, up a pawn, G2 attack. Happy Magnus.
Very happy Magnus. He kind of, there's some things he enjoys. He enjoys walking into discovered checks. He enjoys queen sacrifices, all the counterintuitive things in chess. And one of those is not castling your king. So Magnus, without a doubt, is going to play this move, surely.
But now both players under that 1 minute mark, and that's when mistakes start happening. It's never the first. It's always the one who makes that last mistake that counts. I'm expecting a lot of boss swings in this one.
Guaranteed to see some mistakes. Nobody can play perfect under these time controls and these conditions and in the format of freestyle chess, but that's what makes it exciting. Magnus Carlsen evaluating the position, spending a fair amount of his bank, reminding everybody at home you only get 2 seconds per move, and now he's the one in a deficit to Sindarov.
Wow, he moved his rook across, and the white queen actually swoops back. He would have done this either way. He would have done it if the black king had moved as well. Magnus just wanted to curl up into a ball. He's done the hard work. Queen takes pawn now will be met by the black rook jumping down and grabbing a very important white pawn. That is unthinkable. You cannot allow that, Javokhir. Or can you?
Just did it.
Oh, he's allowing a check as well. This is so scary for the white king.
Brave and gutsy, and this is forcing the bishop to retreat. That's the only move. Did he miss this check coming in?
He reacted on the camera, Javokhir. You saw him wince. He was grimacing there. He now knows that rook takes pawn. Threatens checkmate.
Oof.
Queen takes bishop is the threat.
This is over in 1 move. Javokhir just simply missed Magnus's queen coming in with the power play against the white king.
And there's no counterplay. The white knight could have given a check. The black king would have just moved. And here we go. He blocks instead. Magnus is a pawn up, though, and with an attack. He can force a draw if he wants.
3 seconds, though. Well, he's played that move with 2 seconds, with 1 second on the clock even.
Okay, queen's off the board. Oh, it's an endgame though. Magnus is up a pawn. He's a huge favorite now.
Yeah, with seconds on the clock, anything can happen. This is still not over. Javokhir on the defense. That knight on e4, centrally blocking everything, keeping things under check so far. Trade denied.
Yeah, the knight is more important than the bishop here, so the knight has to keep itself on the board. Javokhir blocks black's extra pawn. The king is coming though. Magnus is so good at using kings actively. He breaks the blockade. The white rook has to run away. Now the pawn advances.
The fortress cracks here. Javokhir looking for play on the other side. He's not going to find it. Magnus even sacrificing a pawn. Can you accept it? You can't. That would open up the line. Now blocked.
This is dominance though. White's bishop is so bad. All of its own pawns are on light squares. Therefore, the white bishop is just a terrible piece. And Magnus is jumping in. He's winning another pawn.
He's coming in with all his pieces. Look at the speed with which the two are playing.
Oh, so speedy, but unfortunately for Sindarov, it's just not going to be enough. The black pawn is too strong on the edge of the board. It's going to paralyze his whole army.
Basically playing on increment. On the bonus time of 2 seconds, these two players are.
Magnus moves his bishop in. The knight goes back. Oh, Sindarov just runs out of time, though.
Wow, down to a bullet chess scenario and echoes of the initial rounds between these two players. Magnus Carlsen will get the first game in the tiebreaker, put himself back up a point above Javokhir Sindarov.